Every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. In our major stories, Senate confirms Rotimi Amechi and 17 others as ministers, despite a walkout by PDP senators. Also in this package, Supreme Court confirms the election of Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha, dismisses the petition of Emeka Hedio for lack of merit. The federal government plans a $25 billion fund for the revamp of the nation's infrastructure. Many thanks for joining us tonight. Senators elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party on Thursday tripped out of the Senate chamber after it dawned on them that the Senate was keen on confirming former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi as minister. This was in spite of a report by the Senate Committee on Ethics and Public Petition that was not favorable to the nominee. PDP senators put up a strong argument to stall Amechi's nomination, but their APC colleagues who were in the majority had their way. We'll bring you details of that report subsequently. The presidency has held what it describes as the cooperation of the Senate in clearing all the ministerial nominees sent for confirmation. Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Ita Enang, said it shows that the two arms of government are working in the best interest of the nation. Senator Enang spoke to journalists shortly after senators confirmed the last set of ministerial nominees.
His confirmation on hold. Not surprisingly, Senator Anyao had the support of his colleagues in the opposition.
The committee accordingly recommends as follows. A. That since the ministerial nominee had gone to the Court of Appeal to challenge the content of the petitions and the white paper of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry, the Senate is unable to recommend the consideration of his confirmation. B. That the Senate do consider and adopt the recommendation as proposed by the committee.
I just want us to follow not our sentiments, but follow our rule that in seconding whatever motion he has, that I rather want to move a motion that in line with the agreement that was made on the day of screening, that the Senate do allow proper discussion of the report that has just been presented before us. I so move.
But the APC were prepared to push the nomination of the former Rivers State Governor through. Senate leader Ali Ndome urged the senators to settle the matter through a voice vote and got the backing of one of his colleagues who had buttressed his argument with the Constitution.
So let me explain. I stood up under the standing order to move my motion, and my motion is still standing for secondment, and you put the question.
This is the most important committee of the Senate. It is the committee of the whole. At every committee level, any recommendation can be amended. At committee of the whole, a recommendation can be amended. Point number one. Point number two. Point number two. Point number two. The basis of the leader's submission, which he brought submission, he brought it under point of order and he moved the motion, a consequential motion. It's predicated under Order 53, Rule 5, because this matter is sub judice, is pending, and Order 41 Rule 7, the Senate shall not receive any petition on any matter for which there is a judicial remedy.
Sensing that the majority will have its way, PDP senators drew attention to what they described as a moral burden on the ruling party, and President Buhari before staging a walkout.
Mr. President, from all indications, we have been shut out. And the only reason I am standing up to speak is to tell you, Mr. President, that there is a moral burden on not only this Senate, but on the government of President Buhari.
With the walkout by the PDP senators, the Senate proceeded to dump the report of the committee and cleared Amechi for confirmation as Minister in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Appointed as a Minister of the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
We do apologize for that mix-up. The presidency has hailed what it describes as the cooperation of the Senate in clearing all the ministerial nominees sent for confirmation. Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Ita Enang, said it shows that the two arms of government are working in the best interest of the nation. Senator Enang spoke to journalists shortly after senators confirmed the last set of ministerial nominees.
There is very harmonious and amiable cooperative working relationship between the executive and the legislature, and there is no iota of dispute. Let me very specifically, before I go to my brothers of the PDP, specifically thank the senators of the All Progressives Congress, because they have shown that when the party is in power, it has to exercise its right to have its way. Let me also, in a very special way, thank the senators of the PDP and other political parties, because they had shown, even in the questions they asked, in their voting, that they all act as one Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, irrespective of the political parties, except where their political parties' interest became an issue. So I thank them. Even in the concluding part of it, they still showed their opinion and expressed it in the most decent, the most democratic, and the most constitutional manner. I appreciate them so very much.
The Senate has confirmed the appointment of Mahmoud Yakubu as the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The Senate in its plenary confirmed the appointment of Yakubu after answering questions from senators. Also confirmed as members of INEC were two former acting chairmen of INEC, Amina Zakari and Solomon Adedeji Shoebi, as national commissioners. The new INEC chairman, in his answers to some of the questions put to him, says the commission under his watch will ensure that the PVCs yet to be distributed to voters will be done vigorously so that it can focus on the conduct of the elections as 2019 approaches.
In 1998, and in 2006, I joined the staff of the Federal Ministry of Education for the reform of the nation's education sector under the leadership of the former President Obasanjo. At the end of the reform, I was appointed Executive Secretary of the Education Trust Fund and later the Tertiary Education Trust Fund. I chaired two presidential committees on education, served as a member of many presidential committees, and during the course of my work at the Education Trust Fund, later TED Fund, I had cause to relate with many of the distinguished senators here present.
Now moving to Imo State, where the Supreme Court has dismissed the appeal by the People's Democratic Party's governorship candidate in the April 11, 2015 election in the state, Emeka Ihedioha, challenging the election of Governor Rochas Okorocha. The 7-man panel of the Supreme Court, presided over by John Fabi, dismissed the appeal for lack of merit. The Apex Court affirmed the judgment of the Court of Appeal in Owerri to the effect that Hedio's failure to properly serve Okorocha and his party, the All Progressives Congress, roped the appeal court's jurisdiction to hear the case. The Supreme Court also held the failure to indicate the addresses of the other respondents on the processes of the appeal was fatal to the case. Ihedio, the immediate past Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, had appealed against the ruling of the Imo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, which in its ruling delivered on July 22, 2015, dismissed this petition on the grounds that it was incompetent. He appealed to the Court of Appeal, which also in September 3, 2015, dismissed the appeal against the ruling of the tribunal. Now, while the Governorship Tribunal that sat in Jos was delivering judgment, Governor Simeon Lalong said he was in Jerusalem praying for his victory and progress of the nation. Addressing well-wishers at the Yakubu Gowon Airport in Jos, he announced that now that the distractions are out of the way, it is time to work. Our Plateau State correspondent has the details.
At his return to the state, the governor asserted that his detractors should go off their former ways and join hands with him to move Plateau State forward because it's time to work.
Some people were calling that don't go away. You have a judgment, don't go away, because you don't know what the judgment will be. I said I have great conviction that if it is the people of Plateau State that God used to bring this judgment, this victory, the same God will not disappoint them. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the verdict. Very soon, the Babariga you see me wearing, I will not wear it again. Because we are now going to the farm. It is settled that we have the next 4 years to show the people of Plateau State the difference.
The chairman of the APC in the state, Latif Dabag, called on all the people who are still aggrieved to emulate the reconciliatory gesture of the state PDP chairman Raymond Dabo, who hugged him after the tribunal had passed judgment and said, "Let bygone be bygone in the interest of Plateau State."
After the verdict, he looked at me, he walked forward and embraced me and said it was over. He said what was left for the people was for the people of Plateau to come together and work for the progress of peace and development of Plateau State. That is how politics should be played, and we believe that is the end of the matter.
In a brief reception at the government house, the governor urged the state citizens to join him to move Plateau to the next level of development.
This is the time that the work will start. So let us come together and make Plateau.
It expected that with the verdict of the Election Petitions Tribunal, that all hands will be on deck now for further development in Plateau State.
The Plateau State governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2015 elections, Yang Wajok, is dead. The head of his media team during the electioneering campaign, Chuak Dong, confirmed the developments to journalists in Jos via a telephone interview. He, however, said an official statement would be issued by the late Mr. Wajok's family later. Sources close to the late politician have told Premium Times that Wajok died late Wednesday in an Indian hospital. Wajok is a former senator and also the governorship candidate of the PDP in the 2015 general elections. He narrowly lost the election to Simeon Lalong of the All Progressives Congress. He was also the immediate past senator for Plateau Northern Senatorial District. Wajok succeeded late Senator Yang Dantong, who died of shock while attending a mass burial of persons killed by insurgents in Bakinlad in 2012. Now, the National State Assembly Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Jalingo, Taraba State, has set aside the election of the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Abel Dyer, in his judgments on Wednesday on the petition filed by the candidate of the All Progressives Congress for Banga constituency. Emmanuel Bongo, the tribunal ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to withdraw the certificate of return issued to the Speaker. The tribunal held the election in 8 polling units out of the total 48 polling units did not conform substantially with the provisions of the 2010 Electoral Act and ordered the INEC to conduct fresh election in the affected polling units within 90 days. We're still watching Court of a Primetime News. We'll take a quick break. I'll be back with more stories. Please join us again.
It's a new dawn in Nigeria, and the mantra is change. The wind of change is blowing all over Nigeria and beckons to you. One sure way to respond is to perform your civic duty, pay your tax. With taxes, government generates revenue to fulfill its electoral promises, ensure regular power supply, provide good security, standard education, medical care, true total change. Individuals and corporations enjoy specific benefits, rights and privileges for paying taxes and avoid the consequences and penalties of not paying. Oil revenue is no longer sufficient to bring desired change, but your tax can. It pays to pay your tax. A message from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Is it crazy or autocracy? Or what type of crazy is that? Except crazy.
News making the headlines.
Black Maria is to carry criminals, trading looters that are in government today.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
Slap you in the face. Excuse me, don't put words into my mouth.
Whatever it is that will bring our military to disrepute, I say to hell
on Core Digest.
I want to know why I should be believing them.
Every weekday, we bring all of these together and take them to the court of public opinion.
Everybody has the right in Nigeria.
Where you are the judge.
If you're just joining us, this is still the Court of a Primetime News. A quick reminder of our major stories. Senate confirms Rotimi Amechi and 17 others as ministers despite a walkout by PDP senators. Supreme Court confirms the election of Imo State Governor Bochas Okorocha, dismisses the petition of Emeka Ihedioha for lack of merit. The federal government plans a $25 billion bond for the revamp of the nation's infrastructure. For more on the news and other programs, please visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can follow us on Twitter, CoreTV News NG. Also visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space, then news. The Plateau State House of Assembly has adopted a recommendation of its Committee on Water Resources and Energy, forbidding the use of chlorine gas for water treatment. Now, this is coming on the heels of the gas explosion that killed many residents across a water treatment factory in Jos. Our correspondent sends the details.
The chlorine gas explosion disaster that killed tens and got hundreds hospitalized in Jos instigated the decision of the Plateau lawmakers to ban the use of chlorine in water treatment in the state, adding that alternative water treatments be used.
The committee further observed with dismay the carelessness exhibited by the management of Water Board by not putting in place measures that would have prevented such occurrence, given that it had happened twice before now.
The committee has said that Water Board should be held responsible. But what sanction are we recommending for an institution that neglected its responsibility, which ended up claiming the life of, if I am quoted right, up to 6 or 8 citizens of Plateau State?
The Deputy Speaker used the occasion to express displeasure on how he and his Committee on Security were castigated for not submitting the report on Plateau crisis earlier enough. After much deliberation, the lawmakers adopted the entire recommendation of the committee.
Whatsoever the committees are doing, it is in the best interest of Plateau, and until and unless the report is presented on this chamber and is adopted by the Honorable House before it will become the position of Plateau State House of Assembly.
This report will not see the light of the day except we resolve that the government should take up to their responsibility, while the same management of the Water Board also seeks to take up responsibility.
They confess there was no money to hire crane,
there was no money to provide some of these facilities.
With a ban on the use of chlorine, it's expected that safety measures return to water treatment plants in Plateau State.
The National Conscience Party has decried the reported request of the federal government for a secret trial for the former National Security Advisor Samba Dasuki. The party says the secret trial of Samba Dasuki or any other Nigerian for that matter is totally unacceptable. In a press release signed by its National Secretary Oladile Akele, the party says the federal government should tell Nigerians what it is hiding. The party added that the pervasive general insecurity in the nation and other challenges facing the nation has been abandoned, with the federal government showing a clear lack of direction. The party added that the issue of secret trial is one that all Nigerians, irrespective of political leanings, creed or religion, should reject. It also concluded that not even the vicious and inhuman apartheid regime in South Africa used secret trials. Now, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Lamade, has sued the Punch newspaper for allegedly mulling his name in a recent publication. The suit was filed on behalf of Lamade by Festus Keyamo at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Keyamo argued that by publishing allegations against the EFCC chairman in what he described as a sensational screaming headline titled "Alleged 1 Trillion Diversion," FG orders EFCC to probe Lamade. The newspaper showed its intention to malign his client and drag his reputation in the mud. He noted that the words used in the news item were damaging to the reputation of Lamade. Aside from seeking 1 billion naira in damage, the lawyer also wants the court to extract a retraction and an apology for the words published on the front page and page 3 of the Punch newspaper of Tuesday, October 27, 2015. He also wants another of perpetual injunction restraining the newspaper from further publishing any injurious or defamatory words against his client. The Director of Public Prosecution, Federal Ministry of Justice, Mohammed Diri, has denied signing any letter directing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to investigate its chairman, Ibrahim Lamade. Diri told newsmen in Abuja that he did not sign any such letter on behalf of the ministry. He, however, says he is not competent to make a comment on the issue of whether he's being investigated. The ministry spokesman, Charles Waters, also described the media report as erroneous and misleading. Wodo, however, acknowledged the ministry's receipt of a petition against Lamade and other top EFCC officials on diversion of process of corruption. Now, online publications of the Nigeria Weekly Law Report is part of the focal point highlighted at the 30th anniversary of the Weekly Law Report held in Lagos, with the theme, The Place of Law Reporting in the 21st Century, Legal Research and Practice. Emmanuel Jai, who was at the event, has details.
It was a gathering of legal practitioners coming to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the publication of the Nigerian Weekly Law Report, founded by the late activist Gani Fayomi, were the focal points of the crusade for human rights in Nigeria, from judicial decisions which are captured in the law reports. Speaking at the event, the special guest of honor Richard Osholale Akinjide says the publication of the Weekly Law Report serves as a reference point to lawyers.
We follow it. We follow the judgment there. It's very authoritative, and I like it very much.
An ignorant judge is a calamity of the innocent. A judge must be aware of how a matter has been decided by the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. So these law reports help in establishing stare decisis. You do not do things at your own whims and caprice. It is not that this is how I feel like doing it. Some people in the past, they have considered this point on these facts and on this law, and they have felt that this is the way it should be decided.
The issue of online publication of the law reports and judicial reforms were brought to the front line.
Yes, it's the issue of making it online, bringing it online, so that it doesn't have to be hard copies alone. We want to see it online equally.
Law is dynamic. And if law is dynamic, it means that we must keep abreast of developments, globalization, and what have you. Nigeria cannot afford to remain behind. So as as the modernization evolve, as globalization evolve, so also should our law. We should try as much as possible to reform our laws to make the laws that are applicable in Nigeria to be in tune with the modern trend.
Some lawyers also have this to say.
The Nigerian Weekly Law Report for the past 30 years has been a major resource guide, not only for the Nigerian judiciary, but for the Nigerian legal profession. Its consistency and enduring nature has been a veritable source of joy.
Chief Gani Fawemi, in his lifetime, was always moving with technology. He might not know how to operate the latest computer or software available, but he will acquire it and employ people to operate it. So there's no reason why this transformation of the Nigeria Weekly Law Report from hard copy, to the electronic format.
The Nigerian Weekly Law Report was founded by the late Chief Gani Fawemi and which serves as judicial precedent of reported cases. And this publication has made tremendous impact in the judiciary. From Lagos, I'm Emmanuel Ajayi, reporting for CoreTV News.
Bauchi State APC Youth Forum has expressed its concern over the continuous stay of Sule Bogore's Tertiary Education Trust Fund Executive Secretary, despite his active participation in partisan politics in the 2015 elections in Bauchi State. Expressing this concern, State Coordinator of the Forum, Bello Pate, has called on the presidency to set a probe machinery in motion on the management of TED Fund in the interest of probity and transparency. Now, according to the forum, for the APC administration to achieve its set goals of sanitizing and restoring the fading glory of Nigeria, the stewardship of the likes of Bogoro must be thoroughly probed to strengthen the records and restore confidence in the APC system of property and justice. Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai is convinced that the previous People's Democratic Party is to be blamed for the spate of collapsed buildings in the country in the last dispensation. He said this on the sidelines of the 28th Annual Conference and General Meeting of the Nigerian Institute of Structural Engineers in Abuja. El-Rufai was represented at the occasion for his Commissioner for Works, Haruna Lambo.
Well, it was not a political perspective. It was a realist perspective. The collapse in building is basically due to lack of leadership. So I said, and so I repeat even now. That's where you are wrong. We are not going to use their foundation. We are going to make our own and establish our building on it.
Portioning a blame cannot be that easy until you carry out a good investigation properly done by professionals in that regard and you establish the cause of the collapse. Then you can start looking for who actually would you blame it on. And I can tell you, for every single building collapse, you cannot say that it will be apportioned to one person.
As the controversy surrounding the death in controversial circumstances of a medical doctor, Hestina Thomas, grows concerned voices, a coalition of women rights organizations have joined the call for a probe into the circumstances leading to her death. Our correspondent Neto Elabere, who was at a press briefing by the group, files on this report.
Speaking on the death of the late Hestina Thomas, the executive director, Project Alert on Violence Against Women, says the increase in violent cases affecting women and girls should be nipped in the bud. She also refuted the claims that the deceased was a psychiatric patient who did not seek medical attention.
What domestic defines it? It means violence that happens in the domestic arena between people who are in a familial relationship. The second one is that's been attributed to the Nigerian Medical Association and the Nigerian Medical Women Association and also our own family, that she was a psychiatric patient and was suicidal. and as such, she committed suicide. And we are saying to both, where is the proof? We have a lot of questions here.
A Project Alert ambassador says, as women, the group is concerned about what happened to her.
Domestic violence against women and children in Nigeria has become more prevalent. It's become more daring. It's become more in your face because there aren't enough consequences for the perpetrator, for the person who has committed these violent acts. But we just want to know what really happened to her. She's a woman like you, like me. If nobody cares, then what are we in the world for? If you cannot trust your husband, whom you share your body and your life, your children with, who can you trust? If your life is at risk in your home that is supposed to be your sanctuary, where are you safe? You're not safe outside.
Another member of the group says the home should not be a battleground of some sorts. She added that it should be safe for every man, woman and child.
The reports stated that the late doctor was rushed into the accident and emergency ward of Luth in the, in the early hours of Tuesday, October 13th, with injuries on her head and other bruises. At the hospital, she was declared dead. While the social media and the print media reported suspected acts of domestic violence as having led to the young doctor's death, speculations attributed to the Nigerian Medical Association and the Medical Women Association stated that it was a case of suicide. We are therefore calling for a thorough, unbiased police investigation into the questionable and violent death of this young female doctor. We are specifically calling for the constitution of an independent group of pathologists, if possible, from outside Lagos State to conduct a fresh autopsy. The home should not be a battlefield of sorts. It should be a safe place for every man, woman, and child.
Although the Nigerian Medical Association, Medical Women Association, and the deceased husband, a fellow doctor, all insist that her death was a clear case of suicide, the call for an unbiased autopsy to be carried out on the deceased dead body continues to grow.
The Kaduna State government says it is committed to providing a conducive environment for prisoners in the state. Government officials gave these assurances at the commissioning of a new cell, workshops and administrative building in the Zaria prison. The structures were destroyed by inmates in May 2015 during a riot, but have now been renovated by the government. Amina Nebi has more on this report presented from our studios. This is the new structure at the Zaria prison, which cost the Kaduna State government 24 million naira. Speaking during the commissioning, Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai says the government is doing everything possible to decongest the cells. He was represented by the Commissioner for Justice, Amina Shijuade. This is the new structure at the Zaria prison, which cost the Kaduna State government 24 million naira. Speaking during the commissioning, Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai said the government is doing everything possible to decongest the cells. He was represented by the Commissioner of Justice, Amina Shijuade.
The unfortunate incident that led to the destruction of this prison by fire in May of this year brought about a setback in government's effort to decongest prisons within the state. However, with the renovation and commissioning of this prison today, all its inmates that had to be transferred to the Kaduna federal prisons and satellite prisons within the state will be relocated back to this prison. This will ease the congestion in the Kaduna federal prison in the state. I wish to commend the Kaduna State Controller of Prisons for his prudent management of the resources provided by the Kaduna State government for the renovation of this prison.
For his part, the Controller General, Ezenwa Ekpendo, expresses gratitude to the government for the new structure. This, he says, is because they were built in spite of financial constraints.
There are always plans to improve on our facilities and build new ones. But we are constrained for the moment by the present economic conditions in the country and all over the world anyway. It's not limited to Nigeria. So there are a lot of renovation works that we're carrying out in a number of places, and I also hope that as soon as Mr. President settles down, there are some other areas where we have called on him and for which he's given attention, invariably we are going to have more facilities.
The controller of prisons in the state, Abubakar Garba, also had this to say on the structure.
It will be recorded that on the 28th of May 2015, this prison was destroyed by the inmates. All the cells, the workshops, administrative block were set ablaze by the inmate of this prison. The only buildings that are left behind were the mosques over there and the chapel over there. Impiano was timely put up by a combined effort of the prison arms court, the military, and police personnel, after which the remaining inmates, or all the inmates that are in the prisons, were evacuated to Kaduna Combat prisons.
It will be recorded that the workshops and the administrative building of the Zaria prisons were destroyed by inmates on May 28 this year in the course of what was the time described as a minor riot. The Director General National Institute for Legislative Studies, Ladi Amalai, has assured the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees of the Institute's support in ensuring the appropriate legal framework that will galvanize action towards finding holistic and sustainable solutions to the hardship of internally displaced persons in the DG. Made this declaration while receiving a delegation of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in her office. The leader of the four-man delegation and the UNHCR representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Angel de Conge Atangana, earlier called for a concerted effort of relevant government agencies towards the actualization of national policies on the issues of internally displaced persons and statelessness. Speaking on the inherent dangers of statelessness, which she described as a silent and deep-seated phenomenon, she noted that the UNCHR has a mandate to lead advocacy for refugees and displaced persons. We'll take another break. I'll be back with business and outside Nigeria. Please stay with us.
It's a new dawn in Nigeria, and the mantra is change. The wind of change is blowing all over Nigeria and beckons to you. One sure way to respond is to perform your civic duty, pay your tax. With taxes, government generates revenue to fulfill its electoral promises, ensure regular power supply, provide good security, standard education, medical care, true total change. Individuals and corporations enjoy specific benefits, rights and privileges for paying taxes and avoid the consequences and penalties of not paying. Oil revenue is no longer sufficient to bring desired change, but your tax can. It pays to pay your tax. A message from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
This is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water and new TT.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly.
They talk to our husband that you should keep promise about what you said, and because people are watching you, you know, another election is coming.
Also, some people will stand for Yoruba land, will be strong man, you don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
The federal government of Nigeria is putting together a $25 billion infrastructural development funds to address its decaying road, rail and power infrastructures. Now, speaking while receiving the Italian and Canadian ambassadors to Nigeria in his office, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the funds will be sourced from local and international sources, including the Sovereign Wealth Fund and pension funds. Osinbajo had earlier reiterated the Nigerian government's position against the devaluation of the naira. He says the devaluation of the naira is not an appropriate option in the current economic realities in the country, noting that it offers no solution to economic realities as far as the Buhari administration is concerned. According to the Vice President, all that is needed for Nigeria to start spending more on the economy and things will ease up. Osinbajo also notes that the restriction on foreign exchange is a temporary measure. The Federation Accounts Allocation Committee has shared 321.9 billion naira among the three tiers of government for September 2015. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Anastasia Walkover, disclosed this after the FAC meeting on Wednesday night in Abuja. She explained that the drop in distributable revenue is as a result of drop in crude price.
Is 328.326 billion. Out of that, we took out the cost of collection from there to the various revenue generating agencies, and we had a total of 314.792 after the deductions. We added the value added tax collected for the month of August, which came to 56.399 billion. Again, we took out the cost of collection from there for FIRS, and the net came to 54.143 billion. The grand summary, therefore, for distribution came down to 321.996 billion, as against 369.140 billion that was collected last month. The grand total for distribution this month is 389.936 billion, as against 442.606 billion of the previous month. So we can see that the revenue is further dropping. The ECA as at 28 October has a balance of $2.257 billion. So it has not changed. Money has not been added to it because we are not making any excess from the sales of our oil.
The Ekiti State Governor Adele Fauci has lamented the state of the nation's economy and challenged the federal government to publish facts and figures on its true state. The governor spoke in Ikere-Ekiti at the convocation ceremony of the College of Education in Ikere-Ekiti. Rashid has more from Ikere-Ekiti.
Ikere-Ekiti is the place as the College of Education graduates over 2,000 students. The state of the nation's education is the topic of discussion as speakers call for review in the education sector.
Failure in examinations, dropping out of subjects of school, development of poor attitude of learning, and a host of others. The solution, therefore, is a functional teacher education.
We cannot teach what you don't know. It's not enough to have master's degree, PhD degree, whatever. You cannot teach it properly unless you are told how to teach.
Lamenting the deteriorating state of the education sector, Governor Fauci placed the blame for the inability to put up necessary infrastructure in the sector on the dwindling economy of the country, urging the federal government to come out clean on the state of Nigeria's economy.
This month's allocation, I got back from Israel yesterday, got the allocation, the information about the allocation is the worst in our history. And I charge the federal government to come out straight and tell Nigeria the state of the economy. They should come out and tell Nigerians the state of the economy and stop using propaganda to run Nigeria.
Some stakeholders canvass for public-private partnership in the education sector.
Without education, I mean, nobody could do anything today in Nigeria. So the government must do a lot in terms of support to education.
Our earnings nationally, we have to go into public partnership within and without in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. A lot of people love to invest in education. We must make way for them.
The graduating students were charged to be good ambassadors of the institution. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ikere-Ekiti.
The Ministry of Mines, Industry and Energy of Equatorial Guinea has announced it will launch a new bidding ground for raw remaining deep and ultra-deep water blocks in 2016. Two operators have confirmed they will further explore prospects in Equatorial Guinea in 2016. Royal Gate Energy will drill Block Z and Brazil's G3 Oil E-Gas will drill Block EGO1. The ministry also stated that a production sharing contract for the Zafiro field operated by ExxonMobil will not be extended. ExxonMobil has been active in Equatorial Guinea since 1995 as operator of offshore Block B, which contains the producing Zafiro field. ExxonMobil has a participating interest of 71.25%. GEP Petro has 23.75% and the Equatorial Guinea government holds the remaining 5%. And outside Nigeria, report says China has decided to end its decades-long one-child policy. This was revealed in a statement from the Communist Party that all couples will now be allowed to have 2 children. The controversial policy was introduced nationally in 1979 to reduce the country's birth rate and slow the population growth rate. However, concerns that China's aging population led to pressure for change. The one-child policy is estimated to have prevented about 400 million births since it began. Couples who violated the policy faced a variety of punishments, from fines and the loss of employment to forced abortions. Over time, the policy was relaxed in some provinces as demographers and sociologists raised concerns about rising social costs and foreign workers' numbers. Now, Saudi blogger Rauf Badawi, whose vlogging sentence caused an outcry, has been awarded the European Parliament's Sahara Human Rights Prize. Parliament President Martin Schulz urged Saudi King Salman to free him so he can accept the prize. Badawi is serving a 10-year sentence in Saudi Arabia for insulting Islam and is due to receive 1,000 lashes. Earlier this month, he won the Pen Pinter Prize for championing free speech. The Sakharov Prize, named after Soviet scientist and dissident Andrei Sakharov, was established in December 1988 as a means to honor individuals and group of people who have dedicated their lives to the defense of human rights and freedom of thought. Badawi was one of 3 nominees for this year's prize, along with assassinated Russian opposition leader Boris Nemtsov and the Venezuelan opposition movement Mesa de la Unidad Democrática. And sports, Middlesbrough's League Cup penalty win over Manchester United was lucky, said Red Devils boss Luis van Gaal. The championship side won the shootout 3-1 to progress to the last 8 after a goalless 20 minutes at Old Trafford. Andres Pereira scored his goal, but England try Wayne Rooney, Michael Carrick and Ashley Young all missed from the spot. United lost their 4th successive penalty shootout, and the Dutchman saw his side knocked out of the competition by a lower league team for the 2nd successive season, following defeat by MK Dons last. Now, Jogging Club earned its 1st win as Liverpool boss after Nathaniel Klein's maiden Reds goal served Bournemouth in the Capital One Cup 4th round. Red keeper Adam Bogman stopped Junior Stanley's close-range shots with his leg as Bournemouth started brightly. Liverpool could drew their 3 opening goals on the club led when Klein pounced after Adam Smith cleared Joe Scala's Texeras flick off the line. Bogdan saved from Matt Ritchie in injury time as Liverpool held on. The Reds, who have won the League Cup on a record 8 occasions, moved into the quarterfinals for the 2nd successive season. Klopp will take his team to Premier League rivals Southampton in the last 8. Now, Italian champions Juventus suffered another shock defeat as they slipped 11 points behind new Serie A leaders Roma. Juve's four-stat had been steadied by a 3-game unbeaten run, only for Sassuolo to end it through Nicola Sami's supplying first-half free-kick. The fate led the Old Lady in the 12th place, while Mino Salozzo rose to 5th. Roma runners-up in the past 2 seasons reclaimed top spot with goals from Miralem Pjanic, Macon and Gavin Hurst sealed a 3-1 win over Udinese. The Gloriosi, who faced 4th place Inter Milan at the weekend after 2 points clear, haven't lost just once in the league this season. 2nd place Napoli claimed their 5th win in a row, beating Palermo thanks to goal from Gonzalo Higuain and Dries Martins. APC's national leader Bola Tinubu is to be specially honored with the prestigious award as Pillar of Arts and Culture in Africa by the African Union Commission at the All African Music Awards Afrima 2015, scheduled to hold on Sunday, November 15, 2015 at the Core Hotels and Suites, Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. The International Committee of Afrima made this known in Lagos during the unveiling of the activities of the awards ceremony. He's known to have stimulated conversations among Africans and between Africa and the rest of the globe about the potentials and values of the African culture and artistic legacy for the purpose of creating jobs, reducing poverty, inspiring social change and development, calling attention of world leaders to Africa, and promoting a positive image of Africa to the world for global competitiveness. A staunch supporter of art, culture and creative initiative for social change for decades. He supported Fela on Broadway to the stage for the first time in Africa in Lagos in 2011. The honor was made known to Tinubu in separate letters from Afrima and the African Union, signed by Commissioner for Social Affairs Mustafa Sidiko Kaloko. Tinubu was selected among a pool of hundreds of illustrious sons and daughters of Africa being considered for the award, who are lovers of arts and culture for social change. Well, that is a wrap on CoreTV Primetime News. Many thanks for staying through with us. I am Olajuwon Latijin. It's bye for now.